Hi there everyone, it's Julie the Whippy Chick, and today I'm going to show you how to make these really cute little baskets. They're really cute. They have one handle so you can hang them on the wall, and they come in really handy. This one I've got holding this little fake plant that I bought. I think I got it at Target, you know, on that little dollar section in the front of the store. It wasn't anything expensive. So when you look at the baskets though, they basically are always the same. They have this flat bottom here, and then, you know, the sides makes like a tube. So I just pop that right in there and then I hang it on the wall. It's really cute. So now if you look at the second one, it looks almost like it's made out of straw, but it's made out of this yarn. It's not really yarn. It's paper, really. It's paper ribbon. And I made this basket so you don't have to, if that tells you anything. I really did not enjoy working with the material. It is very pliable. You can like bend it and fold it, but it was not fun to work with. This is what I used. It's let's see, it's called Celebrate, and I think they call it raffia yarn. Yeah, raffia ribbon, excuse me. It's 100% paper, and I picked this up at Michael's. It came in a few different colors. They had it in red and blue and the gold color that I used to make the basket. And actually I used all of one of these spools and part of this spool. But I'll take it off of here so you can kind of see what it's made of. It's very stiff, and I don't know, I found it really hard to crochet with. I think I might pop it on the loom though and see what it's like to weave with it. It might be kind of a neat project. Okay, so for today's tutorial I am going to use yarn because I do not want to use that paper again. I'm going to use a size 5 hook for the yarn. Now when I did use the paper ribbon, I used a much bigger hook. This was a size K, and that's what I used when I made the paper basket. But today is yarn. I do need a pair of scissors and also a darning needle to weave in the ends. Okay, let's get started. We're going to start with a magic ring, and if you don't know how to do the magic ring, I'm going to link a tutorial for that right up here in the cards. But we're going to do the crisscross, pull through, and scoop method. Those aren't official terms. That's just what I call it. So we're going to chain up 2, and we are going to work 10 double crochets into this ring. Now that first chain 2 counts as one of the double crochets. So right now I have 2, so this is going to make 3, and we are going to do 10 double crochets all the way around. Now if you don't know how to do a double crochet, I'm going to also put a link up here in the cards for that tutorial. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and cinch that up a little bit, make it a little easier to work into. And we're just going to continue all the way around our circle with our double crochets. This yarn is so much easier than using that paper ribbon, I'll tell you. Right, let's see how many I have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I have to do 2 more, and then we will join with a slip stitch. There's 1, and 1 more, so that makes 10. Okay, so remember I said that first chain 2 does count as a stitch, so that's where we are going to join in with a slip stitch. Let me cinch that nice and tight. See how nice and tight that is? There's not even any hole there in the center. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so here's our chain 2. There's 1, 2, and we're going to join at the top of that chain 2 always a little bit tricky to get into both legs of that stitch. But we can do it. We're going to persevere here. There we go. All right, now we're ready to start round 2. Now round 2, we are going to be adding in stitches. We're going to actually double our number of stitches. Right now we have 10. So in each one of these stitches, we are going to put 2 double crochet stitches. We're going to start off by chaining 2. Now this chain 2 is actually going to count as our number 20 stitch. Okay, that's our last stitch. So we're actually going to have another stitch right next to that one. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start off by a double crochet here. And then like I said, we're going to put another one right in that same stitch. We're going to do that all the way around. 2 double crochet stitches in every stitch. Okay, so you're just going to continue doing that, and I'll meet you around when it's time to join up at the other end. Okay, so here we are at the end of our round. I'm just going to place this last stitch in. And remember I told you it was going to be right up next to that first chain. So this is actually 19th stitch because we've already got our 20th stitch right here. So we're going to join at the top of that stitch with a slip stitch. And yep, I always use the hooky part of my hook to really work into those 2 legs of that stitch. It's always tricky to get that in there. Okay, so we're just going to pull that working yarn through to make a slip stitch. There we go. Wow, that one's a little stubborn. It split my yarn and everything. Let's pull that through. There we go. Okay, so at this point we should have 20 stitches in this round. So let me just do a quick count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 20. Yep. Okay, good. Always good to know you have the right number of stitches. Okay, so we are going to chain up 2, and we are going to do some more increases in this round. Okay, so once again, this chain 2 space counts as our last stitch. And we're going to work double crochets into each of our stitches. Our first stitch, we're going to work 1 double crochet. And our next stitch, we're going to work 2 double crochets. So here's 1, and here's 2. Okay, so let's continue. We're going to do 1 double crochet in this stitch, and then 2 double crochets in the next stitch. We're going to continue to work this way all the way to the end of the round, where we're going to join once again with a slip stitch. Okay, so here we are at the end of round 3, and we are joining with a slip stitch at the top of the chain 2 space, which is our stitch, our last stitch. Okay, and that is going to be the bottom of our basket. We are all set with that as part of it, and I'm going to tighten that up a little there. There, yeah, that looks good. Now we're going to work just the back loops for the next round. You see each of these stitches have front and a back loop. So we're going to work just in the back loop, and that's going to allow our basket to take on some dimension. It's going to turn 3-dimensional. So we're going to start just like always. We're going to chain up 2. We are done increasing, so we're just going to work in each individual stitch. And like I said, we're just going to work in the back loop. Okay, so usually you go through both legs of a stitch, but when you're working in the back loop, you're just going into the 1 loop in the back of the stitch. Self-explanatory, I guess, isn't it? Okay, so you're just going to continue in that way all the way around. You see how it's pulling it up? It's turning it vertically, and you can flip it either way and you're going to have the same effect. Okay, So yeah, so just continue in that same way to the end of the round, and once again we'll join with a slip stitch, and I'll meet you when you get there. Okay, so here we are at the end of the round. We're going to join with a slip stitch and take a look at what we've got so far. Okay, so now that we're taking a look at this, you can see that we've definitely gone vertical. You can flip it inside out and it does give it a different look. I actually kind of like this side better, the look of it better, but you can choose whichever side you prefer. So moving on, we are going into the next round, and it's very simple at this point. You're going to chain up 2 and then double crochet stitch into each one of the stitches in the round. From this point on, it gets very simple. You're basically going to just chain up 2 at the beginning of every round, double crochet into every stitch, and then at the very end of every round, you're going to join with a slip stitch. You're just going to continue that same pattern until you have your basket as tall as you want it to be. So as you see, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds until I get to where I'm making my loop. Well, actually 4 full rounds, and then on the 5th round I make my loop. So I was just noticing that on my sample here, I have these little ridges here, and you don't see them on the one that I'm currently making. And that's because with the sample I used back loops only, just like I did in the bottom to turn it. But if I continue to use back loops only, it creates these little ridges. So if you like the little stripies, go ahead and continue to use the back loop stitches and your double crochets, and that will give you that same effect. So now that we're getting close to the top, we are going to skip 5 stitches up here, and that's what's going to give us our little handle loop. We're going to first join with our slip stitch to finish this round. I'm getting ahead of myself. So yeah, let's join that together. And I'm actually going to do my chain up 2 before I skip my stitches. So we're going to chain up 2, and I am going to work into the first stitch here, and now I'm going to chain 5, and I'm going to skip the first 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so because I'm chaining I'm skipping the first 5 stitches, I'm going to build into that 6th stitch with a double crochet. And in 1 second here, you'll see why I did that. There you go. Now you see it. There's the loop. So we're going to continue working double crochets all the way to the end of this round. So here we are at the end of the round, and once again joining with a slip stitch. And now we're going to work single crochets into all of our stitches. Oh, there's our tail sneaking out. Okay, so single crochets in every stitch, and that's why it's a little bit narrower of a row up here. Now before we actually start that single crochet, we do need to chain up 1. So here's our, it's getting very fiddly here. Here's our chain 1, and now our first single crochet, and it's going to be a little tricky to find because we do have that long chain right after it, so might be a little bit wiggly. Okay, so now we're going to work our single crochets right into this big loop. Okay, so we just work under, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 single crochets on the handle. And now we're going to work, a single crochet in every stitch all the way to the end of the round. It's starting to get close to the end. It's getting exciting. Of course, when you get to the end of this round, you are once again going to join with a slip stitch. So at this point, we've joined with our slip stitch, and now we are going to stitch our ends into, I like to use the handle because there's that straight line of single crochets. It just makes it a nice spot to kind of weave your ends under. And really that's it. You weave in your ends and you are done. And of course, with the bigger basket, you have lots of room for all of your favorite things. I will add a link to my Facebook page where there will be a pattern for the added rows for the bigger basket. Please let me know what you're going to be putting in your baskets. And don't forget to click like and subscribe and share this video. Have a good day.